Hello everybody, my name's Nicola and welcome back to my channel. This is the Frugal Cottage, where we talk all things money to help you on your financial journey. Now today's video is all about frugal living tips that will help you to save thousands. Now my blog and YouTube channel are called the Frugal Cottage, so I couldn't not do a video about frugal living. Don't forget to like and subscribe and let's get started. So frugal living, what does that actually mean? Well, for me it means just being more mindful with your money and making sure that you're not wasting it on things that are not necessarily good for your budget. And I've got 30 tips today to help you to kind of implement some things that will help you save a lot of money over the long run. So the first tip is to budget properly. I don't understand how anybody can know where their money is going if they don't track it in some shape or form. Whether that's through an app, through pen and paper, through a spreadsheet, however you want to track your budget. One of the easiest ways to make changes to your spending habits and the amount of money you spend is by actually knowing where it goes. I'll leave a link to my June budget with me video so you can see how I do my budget. It will be changing as of next month slightly, but I'll leave a link below to that if you want to have a watch. But having a budget is really important. It really gives you the power to change your circumstances if you want it to. Tip number 2 is to use your local library. Now we love using our library. We all have library cards, including our 2 boys, and it is such a good resource to use, and if you don't use it, the chances are that it might disappear. But it is so much more than just books, although obviously that's a great reason alone to go and use your local library to get books out and to read and to spend that time. But there are so many other things you can get there as well. So there's audiobooks, there's music, there's DVDs. Ours have lots of things to do with jobs, job research. There's computers you can use to apply for different jobs. There's the newspapers. Your local library is a fantastic resource if you have one, and that can save you so much money. If you're someone who reads a lot of books can get quite expensive even if you get them on offer. So have a look at your library. You'll be surprised by how much you can get there and just how much that might save you over the long run. And like I said, it's a really good resource and it's something that you should use because otherwise they will disappear. Tip number 3 is to drive a used car. This is so that you don't have a car payment each month, because car payments over time add up to much more than what you could have bought the car for. Plus sometimes you get to the end of the, say, 3 years of paying your car payments and you still have to pay a lump sum at the end of that. If you drive a used car and pay with cash for that car, you don't have that monthly car payment. You're not essentially wasting money on something that is losing value. You could invest the difference, so you can invest that potential car payment instead and build your wealth rather than having that expense in your budget every month. Number 4, and this is easier in the summer months, is to dry your clothes outside rather than using a tumble dryer. Tumble dryers use a lot of electricity and they can use a lot of energy, and sometimes it can take a long time to dry certain items of clothing. In the summer months it's much better for your electricity bill to dry your clothes outside on a washing line if you can. And if you can get multiple loads on a washing line, then great. But it will save on your electricity bill in the long run. Tip number 5 is just to say no to stuff. Whether that's kind of social things that you don't want to do, perhaps it's not in your budget this month, and that's fine. Say that, just say no, it's not in my budget this month. Or say no to buying things or being given things if you don't want them and if it doesn't align with what your aims are. I think a lot of people, and this includes myself, are sometimes a bit anxious about saying no to things, but if you genuinely don't need to do it, or it doesn't involve something that you like, or you don't need the item, then there is nothing wrong with saying no to things, and that again will have a big impact on your budget over time. And that includes unsubscribing to those emails from different stores that email what feels like constantly with deals to their latest things they have on their website. Just say no to all that stuff and honestly it will save you so much money. Tip number 6 is to repurpose items. So things that still have a life in them, still have value, but maybe somebody else didn't think that, or they no longer had a use for that. See if you can repurpose that into something else. So one of the easiest things to use as an example is perhaps you've got an old t-shirt that maybe is a bit worn, it might have got a hole in. Repurpose that into some cleaning cloths. There are lots of YouTube videos that explain how to do this with lots of items, but again over time you're kind of reducing your household footprint, you're reducing your waste that way, but you're also giving them an extra bit of life by repurposing them into something else. Number 7 is to not get an expensive TV service. And what I mean by that is like all the add-ons. So say you want all the Sky Sports or all the Sky Films, or you've got the Virgin Media box but you want the top package. Some of those are nearly £100 a month. And if you think and work out how much time you actually spend watching the TV or watching all these different channels that you pay a lot extra for, is it really worth that every month? If you pay £100 for Sky, that's £1,200 a year. Is it really worth that? You could probably reduce your package and maybe wouldn't miss it as much as you think you might. See if you can reduce it by half. Lots of TV packages, like the basic packages, are more than enough for most people. Number 8 is to use sites that help you to get free items. So there are websites and there are apps to do this. I use an app called Shopmium. It's an app that sometimes allows you to get free items of food from the supermarket. But there are lots of apps that do this. That's just an example of one of them. And yeah, the items might not be what you'd normally choose, but if it's free and you can use that, then it might help you in your grocery budget if it's looking a bit tight. There are also some companies do like free items if it's your birthday, so you need to look at those and have a Google. There's lots of different websites that tell you all about the different things, so have a look and use those. They are there for a reason. It might be a small help to your budget, but small nonetheless, and every little helps when we come to budgeting and frugal living. Number 9 is to pay annually rather than monthly for something. Now, if you can manage to pay something annually, so a one charge as opposed to a monthly charge, normally if you can pay it all in one go, it is cheaper than if you pay it monthly. It might not be a substantial amount if you pay monthly versus paying annually, but if you can save £20–30 on that one-off charge as opposed to monthly, over time, again, that does it, especially if you can do that for multiple different things in your budget, then you can save quite a lot of money by doing that. And if you only pay it once a month, then all the rest of the months of the year you have that extra flexibility within your budget to use it for different things. Number 10 is meal planning. Now, if you're a follower on my blog, you will know that I'm the world's biggest advocate for meal planning. I think it can transform your food budget. It can transform your food waste to, very little. I'll leave a link below to my how to start meal planning video. It shows the planner that I use, but also the process that I go through. I do believe that meal planning can be a real transformational thing to do in your frugal living lifestyle. I think it can help very much reduce your food waste, but also it makes you think more about the kinds of foods you may be bringing into your house over time, and things like bulk buying and things can really help once you get any idea of that. And that links in to number 11, which is batch cooking. So the meal planning and then the batch cooking. So say you're making a bolognese sauce, make double of that and then freeze it for a different day, because often the next size up of mince is not double the price, it's just that little bit extra. So therefore, if you can manage that and have the space to do so over a long period of time, you do save more money by doing it that way. So batch cooking is a real good one to get into. And also, you're cooking once but you've done 2 nights worth of meals, that the second time you eat that, you've also saved on time as well, which is always a bonus. Number 12, if you have a car, it is much cheaper to wash your own car than take it to a car wash. Again, this is easier to do in the summer months when it's sunny outside and it's not freezing cold, but washing your own car can save you quite a bit of money over the long run. Number 13, this is maybe a slightly controversial one, but it's not really. It is to do with your heating, and could you possibly set that heating thermostat 1 degree lower? Doesn't sound very much, it can make a big difference, but over time you are using less energy to heat your home, and therefore your electricity or gas bill might be lower as a result of that over time. And if you combine that with other ideas like drying your clothes outside, you'll be reducing the amount of energy you use each month. Number 14 is to look for events that are happening near you that are free. There are surprisingly a lot of events around and about that especially cater for families, but they are free events. You just need to kind of keep an eye out, especially on social media, for these. This might be slightly different at the moment, but generally there are lots of different things that you can attend that are free. Number 15 is to entertain at home as opposed to going out. So maybe you haven't seen your friends in a while, or somebody suggests maybe going out for a meal. Have them around your house instead. Cooking, as long as you're confident in cooking for other people in your own home is so much cheaper than going out for a meal in a restaurant. You don't have that awkward thing about whether you're going to split the bill or whether you're going to pay for your bit. And generally it just feels like a more relaxed and kind of friendly environment when you're at home as opposed to out, and it is a lot cheaper. Maybe somebody could bring like the pudding, somebody could bring a starter, maybe the snacks, like share it out between you and have it in somebody's home. Number 16 is to do your errands on the same day. So an example for us is that I would normally go to the supermarket and get petrol and go to the pet shop all on a Sunday so that we're set up for the week ahead. The reason why it's a good idea to do all your errands on the same day is that you use less petrol because you're already in the car, so you just kind of go to all places one after the other. But you're not going into shops multiple times in a week and being tempted by whatever else might be in there. If you go once a week, you are less swayed by marketing tactics from bigger companies. And again, in the long run, that can save you money. And you could track your no spend days the rest of the time as a motivational factor to link into that. Number 17, and this links into looking for free things in your area, but quite often cinemas have free tickets for new films that are coming out. It's, I suppose, to create a bit of a buzz around a film, especially if it's something that's slightly different, not quite such a major blockbuster, if you like. If you look online and just Google free cinema tickets, and there are lots of different options, and they are big cinema buildings. They can fit a lot of people in, and lots of them have free tickets available if you are quick about it. But that's quite a good way of seeing films for free, because going to the cinema can be quite expensive. So if you can get free tickets for that, they're normally in pairs of 2, but have a look. Number 18 is swapping services. So maybe you want to go out one night, you want to go on a date night. Ask a friend to come around and babysit your kids, and then the next time when they want to go out, you offer to go and babysit for them. And it saves money if you can do that kind of swapping of services. Just every now and again, it's just helpful to be able to rely on someone else. Babysitters, for example, can be quite expensive. So if you've got somebody that you know that you can swap services with, that's a good idea to save money. Number 19 is to carpool, so to share lifts to work if possible. Petrol's expensive, maintenance, wear and tear on your car. If you can share that between someone else that works in the same building as you, then that will save money over the long run as well. Number 20 is don't buy bottled water. It's so frustrating when you're walking along and you can see lots of discarded plastic bottles because somebody has bought some water and then thrown it on the street when they're finished. It is so bad for the environment, and we have water in the taps at home. You pay a water bill every month. Why not get a refillable water bottle? I'll leave a link below to the water bottle I have. It's a Hydrate Mate one. If you are someone who buys bottled water often, try and make the switch. Bottled water is also really expensive. If you're buying that quite often, you're going to be spending a lot of money on bottled water, and it's such a waste of money, and it's really bad for the environment. So get a reusable water bottle. 21 is to use coupons or discounts. Now, couponing isn't the same in the UK as it appears to be in the US, but there are certain coupons and discounts that you can get occasionally. So if you've got a Boots card, for example, they sometimes send coupons out in the post every now and then. The same with like the supermarkets and Pets at Home do it. So have a look. Only use the coupons if they would help you to your budget. There's no point using them if they're something that you wouldn't buy anyway. But coupons can be a good way to kind of knock some money off your kind of weekly shop. 22. Now, whenever I mention this to people in real life, they always think that it's a bit of a sticking point. Lots of people don't like the idea, but in terms of frugal living and being more mindful with your spending, 22 is to shop in charity shops. I am quite happy to admit that we've got some toys from charity shops before. Children's toys are so expensive, and the ones we've got from charity shops look like they've not been played with ever. They're normally in really good condition, they're lovely and clean. Our children don't know the difference between a toy from a charity shop and a toy from a toy shop. It doesn't particularly matter that they've not got the packaging, but it's that repurposing, recycling, so giving those toys like a second chance. But obviously in charity shops there's books, there's DVDs, there's games, there's clothes. There are so many things that you can get for such good prices if you're willing to kind of have a bit of a rummage around. We got a Fireman Sam toy. It was the Fireman Sam's engine and Fireman Sam, and I think it was £1.50. That would have been £20+ in the shop, and he generally didn't know any different. And we still have that. It's been played with so many times, and it's now played with our youngest as well. That's just an example of how much you can save by going to a charity shop as opposed to a toy shop. 23 is to make your own cleaning products. So generally cleaning products, especially again if you get the branded ones, can add up to quite a lot over time. And if you are fairly careful with what you use, you can use your own cleaning products. You can make them yourselves, and they do come out at a fraction of the cost that you would pay for a branded item. Again, there are so many videos on YouTube to show you how to make your own cleaning products, and the cleaning products that would last for a long time. And that again could save you a lot of money if you continue to do that from this point onwards. Number 24 for our frugal living tips is to use cashback sites if you are shopping online. I'll leave a link below to a blog post that I've got all about this that explains it all in much more detail. But if you are spending money online, as lots of us do, if you go through a cashback website first, you get a tiny percentage of the purchase price back via that website. Between me and my husband, we've had over £1,000 worth of cashback just by shopping via these cashback sites, and like I said, I'll leave a link below. Frugal living tip number 25 is to reduce your food waste. So I've mentioned about meal planning and I've mentioned about batch cooking, but reducing the amount of food that you throw away each week will dramatically reduce the amount of money you waste. Because the food you're throwing out you've paid for, so you might as well be throwing money in the bin for that. So by meal planning, it should reduce your food waste, so the amount of food that you end up throwing away because you've not done anything with it. 26 is to limit eating out. So I mentioned before about entertaining friends at home. The other side of this is to limit how many times you go out to eat. Going out to eat should be more of a treat rather than everyday occurrence, especially in the UK. I know that the US it's much cheaper to eat out, but in general it can be fairly expensive to eat out, especially if you've got a family like of 4 and you've got 4 adult meals. That adds up quite quickly. You factor in the drinks, it can be expensive, so limit how many times you go out to eat, and again over time that will save you a lot of money. 27, and this again maybe links into the meal planning, the batch cooking and reducing food waste, is to use glass containers for your leftovers. Don't chuck those leftovers out. They're perfectly fine to eat the next day. In fact, some things taste better the next day if you kind of let them, all the flavours like mingle and mellow together. If you contain those leftovers in a glass container, it's better for it than a plastic container if you have any. Frugal living tip number 28 is to try and grow your own. Now I say this as someone who this year have started to try and grow a couple of things. We're currently growing tomatoes and strawberries in our garden, and the reason why I picked those is apparently they're 2 of the most easiest things to grow, although we've not got any tomatoes yet, so I'll let you know how that goes. But growing your own can be quite satisfactory in the sense that you can see it happening from start to finish, but also if you get good at it, you can save a lot of money by growing your own. So for example, we've picked strawberries this year because all 4 of us like strawberries, and they can be quite expensive, and the amount of them that we go through is quite a lot. So I thought we'd try our hand at growing our own strawberries. Talking to our boys about the process and having them pick them off the plant when they're ready, they can spot them because they're red. It's been a really nice experience, but growing your own can save you a lot of money, especially if you're really good at it and kind of can factor in so you're growing things at different times of the year, so it's almost like a continuous supply of things. You never know where you might get. And how amazing would it be if you're kind of cooking tea and you can just go out and you can get the things from your garden that you might need. That must be a good feeling, because let me tell you, we're not there yet. Maybe one day. Frugal living tip number 29 is to do it yourself. Now the example I'm going to give is to cut your own hair. And I say this because I sometimes cut my husband's hair, and during lockdown I've actually let him cut mine because it was getting so long and so it just needed cutting. If you're a bit apprehensive of that, because I was, again, there are lots of YouTube tutorials about how to do that, and it is much easier to cut a man's hair, I think, than letting a man cut a woman's hair. However, if you do that often enough, you will save a lot of money, and you might get more confident over time, and it might become more easier over time, and you might trust the person a bit more. But even other things like learn how to change like a washer on a tap, or maybe learn how to check the boiler pressure. Things around the house, again, I keep saying there's loads of tutorials online, but you can learn pretty much how to do anything if you want to. There are lots of things that you could do around the house that would save you money rather than having to pay someone else to do it, and you're learning a new skill at the same time. Debatable about how good you might be at that skill, but you're learning a new skill at the same time. And finally, the frugal living tip number 30, and this is something we do all the time, is to save the change. And this can be both virtual and physical cash. So if you use the cash envelope system like I do, at the end of the week just swipe all your loose change into a pot, and then either use that for one-off purchases or pay it into a savings account once a month, whenever you can get. Or, and I'll leave a link below to the blog post about this, you can do this virtually, i.e. online. So I call it the account tidy, where I log on to online banking, and you have that like really weird ending sum. Say you've got like £217.28 in your current account. I would then transfer the £7.28 either into our emergency fund or as a mortgage overpayment. Either way, it's saving that little bit of change that it isn't going to be spent in a way. If you do that regularly, it can add up into a lot of money. I'll leave a link below to the blog post which demonstrates just how much you could save in 1 month by doing that. But the actual physical cash coins aspect of it, you can also save a lot of money doing it that way. And then when you're scrabbling around for change because you're going to need to park the car, that's the kind of place where you're going to find the change, that kind of thing. But saving your loose change over time really does add up, and some banks let you take in a pot of money and they've got a change counting machine that pays it directly into a bank account of your choice. So you don't even have to sit and count it, you can just put it in there and it'll pay it in, and you can either put that in your savings, put it in your investments, pay it off your mortgage, pay it off a credit card, whatever you want to use that for. But that does add up over time. And there you have it. There are my 30 frugal living tips to help you get started. If that's been useful, then don't forget to give this a like. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I will see you again very soon.